Today it's time for a best of 7 series of top level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Zerg versus Protoss. But for some reason, with the light blue colors. Cyan? Teal? No. Turquoise? Nah. Let's settle with light blue. Spawning right here. Playing with the Zerg. We have none other than Ragnarok. His opponent, down in the bottom left, with the red Protoss pieces. See, this color is easy. Or should I say, the Scarlet Probes. We have none other than MaxPax. Ragnarok, of course, better known, well, at least previously, under the ID SHIN. He used to play under the nickname of Ragnarok for the first decade or so of his pro gamer career. Then he switched on over to SHIN. And then a couple weeks back, he decided to go back to Ragnarok again. I don't know if it's going to be here to stay, but I kind of like it. The name Ragnarok definitely is pretty badass in my mind, and even though he worked very hard for everybody to start calling him SHIN, now he's, I guess, just throwing a little bit of a curveball. Now, this particular best of 7 is from the Team Liquid Map Contest tournament, so it should be a really interesting series, as both of these guys, of course, are top-tier contenders, and a best of 7 on brand new maps is always going to be very exciting. We're starting off on Blackrock. This map is unique in the sense that it's only got 2 layers. So you have this high ground main base, and then everything else, well, down this ramp over here, takes place on the same leveled playing field, which is really, really cool. I've been pleasantly surprised by how well this map actually plays. I'm still not entirely sure how it's going to work out balance-wise, because it does mean that things like siege tanks, for example, like really anything that has like long-range firepower, is just going to be a little bit weaker. Obviously, you can put tanks over here around the edge of your main base, but say you're a Terran player and you're trying to protect this third, you're just going to have to put your siege tanks in reasonably vulnerable locations. So I don't know, this could be a terrible map for Terran in the end, but I do think it's a really cool concept. It's very tempting to add more layers to your maps, but sometimes the beauty really can be in just simplicity. I'm assuming we're going to see Stargate openers every time, by the way, here from Max. Max is very good at just playing stock standard Protoss. When Max is feeling, like when MaxPax feels well, he seems nearly unbeatable. I've been ridiculously impressed by him lately. Obviously, he does lose games and series from time to time, but he also plays in practically everything. I feel like maybe there's always a little bit like a focus thing as well, you know? Because he plays in so many online tournaments, like he will play in like 3 just today, right? Like he plays in multiple events on every single day of the week. So sometimes, I guess, I look at some of his games and they don't look super clean, but I think it's probably just a focus thing, or maybe he's just tired. But when he's on point, man, he just looks like he is nearly unbeatable. And even though most people will be talking about Hero, right? Because Hero really does have that really spicy, especially really exciting micro, and Hero tends to come back from crazy deficits. In my mind, MaxPax really is the real deal when he is playing a good day, right? When he has a good day and he's actually playing cleanly, I don't really know if anybody can beat him. Well, Ragnarok might be able to get the job done. Likewise, I've been very impressed by Ragnarok lately. Not to be fanboying over both of the players equally, but SHIN really has been making very steady steps forward. Honestly, this is almost a little bit weird, but I've been more impressed by SHIN ever since he changed his username back to Ragnarok. Now, I don't think that would be particularly relevant to your performance in-game, but it kind of feels like he's just playing a little bit more free-flowing, and it's all working much better. I guess it's also due to the maps. Maybe that's a more relevant aspect of his actual playstyle, right, and his performance. But it's been really nice to see Ragnarok just do such a formidable job. He may actually be the most impressive Zerg, well, currently. Obviously, we haven't seen Serral play on the new maps just yet, so a bit of a question mark there, because Serral was always a beast. But Ragnarok is certainly one of the very best Zerg players right now. Third Nexus has already gone up. Second Oracle parked out just to keep that base up and running. Maybe I should change my username too, you know? Ooh, well, this is some poor control over here on the Oracle. Maybe I need to. Maybe that's the secret to gaining a few hundred MMR in StarCraft 2. Just change your username. I recently raided Serral at the end of my stream, and he called me Lofko. So maybe Serral's been calling me Lofko for many years. Maybe that's what I should do, you know? Change the W to a V, plus 400 MMR. Boom. Easy. This is not a great start, by the way, here for MaxPax. I can yap about usernames for a long time, but Ragnarok has been easily deflecting those oracles here, and so far, I mean, a single drone has died. Oh, he's gonna lose an oracle. Yeah, absolute disaster right here for MaxPax. That's not good. This is just going to alleviate so much pressure on the Zerg player. Even though he doesn't really have to commit to an all-in. I mean, he could. Oh, Adepts are also gonna die. They're gonna get like 2 drones and that's it. Yeah. This is a disaster. Absolute disaster here for MaxPax. So, the one saving grace here is that Ragnarok does not seem to be ready to go for an all-in. Solar would already be ready to send the queens in a little, well, Overlord drop to the other side of the map. Solar is a very significant fan of those all-ins. It's just a difficult one to execute, though, and most Zerg players don't seem to really like it. But Ragnarok is going to use this instead as now a stepping stone to go up to 4-base economy, go up towards like a Hydra Ling type of army, maybe a Roach Hydra. The problem here for MaxPax is that he's now been forced to remake an additional Oracle here, and it just all slows everything down a ton. These Stalkers are a little bit later. Now, maybe Max can still get some work done, though. If he can actually snipe that base, that would be big. Warp in over here of a couple more Zealots will be good. He's setting up a load of Stasis Wards. That's what the Zerglings are hunting for right now. One of them will be set off immediately. There is a secondary one over here on the left. Plenty of Queens available, though, and Hydra's now coming out. Those 2 Adepts, though, that were defending the 3rd base previously have snuck towards the left. And look at this. Super sharp here from Ragnarok. No cancel here for MaxPax. Another sloppy mistake. And even though he does target down a few of those units, 2 drones is not quite what you're hoping for. Still, though, Stalkers are not to be underestimated. With Blink, they can be so powerful. Ragnarok even makes a round of drones during all of this. That's kind of crazy. But I think he'll be okay. In the meantime, 4th Nexus coming up. Zerglings are running straight down south. It's as if Ragnarok knows, man. Like, he intercepted those 2 Adepts on the left side of the map perfectly. And now the timing on this Zergling run by is just about perfect, too. I don't know, though. Yeah, the misfiring there onto a little bit of derpy pathing there as well, right? But the misfiring onto the units, it did prevent him from canceling that Nexus. So MaxPax getting out of jail for free. Generally, you don't have that many get out of jail for free cards, especially not at this level, but you will be able to escape for a little while longer. Storm is going to be done momentarily for Max. Pneumatized Carapace now also done. And you know what? We may not be sending Brenda and the ladies a little earlier on in the game, but we are sending the entirety of the Zerg army on a bit of a vacation instead. Normally, a single Dropper Lord is common, especially after you have a strong early game. Instead, we're sending everybody in. And I think we can all agree, everybody deserves a vacation from time to time. Right? And for Ragnarok, he cares about his units. We get a little bit of, well, I was going to call it paid time off, but it's really not time off, I guess. You just get to do, it's more like a business trip. They're flying first class straight into the main base, but then when they arrive on location, it is time to get to work. Apparently, we have a bit of a layover here on the left side of the map. It's mostly to set this up with a secondary attack as well on the right side. Here we go. Big drop inside of the main base. Recall into the main as well here from MaxPax, but that means that the army over at the 3rd or at the 4th base rather can be big. Still though, MaxPax did split his units really nicely, and Storm is a nice ability. You know what? This is what I'm trying to say about MaxPax. He may be like 50-odd supply behind during that particular defense, but he still has all of his units in the right place at the right time. The leftover Zerg units were thinking about going down to the 3rd base. Oh man, Storm just gives you so much zoning potential. I'm still not entirely in the clear though on this base at the bottom. Yeah, we have a split here on the actual army units themselves. Nexus has taken a lot of damage. Hydras here are working away at whatever they can hit. Good splits over there against the Storms. The Roaches here at the bottom will be, okay, sniped for the most part. Looks like the units, though, out on the map. The ones inside of the private jets, they were indeed deflected. And that means that MaxPax can focus all of his attention on just one fight and one fight alone. He still has Stalkers and Zealots caught up in the other expansions, but when he sends everything over here, I think he'll be fine. And this is one of those things that MaxPax just does so well. You know what I think MaxPax does? He never uses all army. I know. Now the Nexus will fall eventually, but I really feel like the splitting... Oh, that's another cancel. Yeah. I feel like the splitting on the army is so strong, and since he doesn't use the all army hotkey very much, if at all, he actually leaves the units in the right place as well. Now, Storm over there dealing more damage to the Protoss army than it deals to the Zerg. Ultimately, Ragnarok gets a little bit of something, right? I mean, he wanted to kill a lot more than just a base. But at least he got something done. And this will slow down the Protoss quite a bit. So if you have a look at the income, this right here is the Nexus dying. That's a big deal. MaxPax still certainly on the back foot. But despite the pretty horrendous early game, you can still tell that he is a force to be reckoned with. Zealot run by here is likely not going to achieve too much. Yeah, roaches are popping out. Man, I really like this map. Blackrock, it's a good one. Yeah. I know some people will be turned off just because it's so Warcrafty, right? But, I mean... Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I know some StarCraft fans are very, very heavily into StarCraft, and any other game is not acceptable. But I think this map is really nice. Visually, it's very pretty as well, which is nice too. Good layout. All right, anyways. Ragnarok is doubling down. So this is my only concern here for the Zerg at the moment. He is not quite going all in. But he is going up against the world's very best defensive Protoss, who's now making the switch on over towards the fleet beacon here. So given enough time, MaxPax will build a mothership. And a mama ship is big. Ragnarok now starts up a hive of his own, but I don't think he really is intending on getting too much work with that done, although he's still trying to kill another Nexus over here, and I think he will be able to get the job done. Good storms, though, all the way around. Man, those Immortals are very much so living up to their names. They've been firing away for such a long time. Nexus does die, though. And that is exactly what Ragnarok was aiming for. A little bit of a run-by in the middle of the map. Still, though, it's the Protoss that will be able to clean it up. Mostly Zealots here out front. I don't really like that too much here for Max. He's trying to grab all the units back together right now, but it's leaving his army disjointed. Immortals have to try and get back to safety. Storm is nice, but not nice enough. That'll be the end of the Immortal squad, but with the Zealot warp in... Okay, all of the Zerg units out on the map are also going to get destroyed. Nexus, in the meantime, is almost halfway done yet again. The problem for Max is that he is going to get overwhelmed the longer that this game goes on. Mama is coming, but Mama is expensive. 400 minerals, 400 gas, 8 supply. And it just takes so bloody long to produce. It's going to force MaxPax to effectively, yeah, maybe attempt a couple of run-bys or scare the opponent into believing it's going to be an attack, but he's mostly just forced to now play defensively, giving Ragnarok enough time to try and remax yet again. Now, one thing that Ragnarok hasn't really focused on very much is his actual worker count. So, despite the fact that he's been like multiple bases up on the opponent for some time in this game, he hasn't really had a superior worker count. So, the amount of resources that he's got is not even really that high. He's also mostly sticking around on this relatively, like, I wasn't gonna say, like, mid-tier army. I guess, like, it's like the beginning of a good army, you know? But there's no lurkers, there's no vipers, there's no infestors, we don't have a spire done, we're not going brute lords, there's no ultra cavern, right? Like, we're missing a load of those late-game transitions. And the mama ship is really difficult to kill. We're like one bad engagement for Zerg away from MaxPax being squarely back in this match. Still though, these Zerg units deal a lot of damage, and they are going to be able to jump this easy peasy. Say goodbye to the static defense and the Nexus itself too, I believe. Mama's too slow. Yeah. Yo, Mama is so expensive. But she's also slow. Yeah, actually, I just had 2 negatives there. Unlucky. In a straight-up fight, this Protoss army is actually good. But Ragnarok now has the option to start running circles around the Protoss. He's effectively containing MaxPax here on just 4 bases. In about another 5 minutes, MaxPax will run out of cash. He will just not have any income anymore at all. So I think Ragnarok's strategy here is the correct one in the long run. But it still scares me a little bit, you know? Not going into any sort of spellcasting, just no late game at all. Prism falls, Zealots die. Couple Zealots over here, but they're run onto a Spine Crawler. Yeah, Ragnarok looking sharp. I guess it's that... Okay, we do see a Lurker Den now, but I guess it's that decisiveness that he's really been doing very well lately. I feel like most Zerg players are playing very cautiously, but Ragnarok is... yeah, he's confident. Does he have enough anti-air, though? That's the question. There's a lot of Hydras in the mix, but actually reaching the mothership is going to be tough. He's very, very Roach heavy. Max is out right now too, by the way. Second Stargate, Tempests are starting to be built. Number 3 is out right now. And MaxPax is making the slow transition to like one final bulldozer army. That's effectively what he's aiming for here. One final army to win the game with. One Skytos, Death Bolt. Losing this base yet again on the left side, though, is painful. Even though technically the Mothership and the Tempest are good, Storm is really powerful. The economy is just gonna be so bad here moving forward. And right now, with all the lost Roaches here on the left side, some of the Roaches as well on the right. Actually, a lot of Roaches as well on the right. We're now replacing them with pretty much only Hydras. Spire coming up too, just so we can make a round of Corruptors if needed. I wouldn't mind seeing the Lurker ranged upgrade or any of the additional late game research. But MaxPax has effectively been on the back foot ever since that first Oracle died, right? Like, I know that's a long time ago, but losing your first 2 Oracles and then seconds later losing your first 2 Adepts really does slow you down so much as a Protoss player. Like, it effectively leads... I mean, there's a lot of different outcomes that are possible, but you're just forced to play this much slower than you normally want to. That first bit of aggression for Protoss is absolutely critical for the performance of your game. And while maybe this solution here that Ragnarok has gone for is a little bit odd, just pretty much pure Roach Hydra here for a long time with some links for support. Most of the time we see Zergs transitioning to the late game, but this is an alternative choice here for Ragnarok. It seems to be working out very nicely for him. Because Max is just going to bleed out over time. No more storms. Not enough energy. And without enough energy, I've got a feeling that Zerg is just going to be able to destroy. Beautiful first game here by Ragnarok, who wins 1-0. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on the map Lumen. There is, of course, a pylon indicator on this map too. But as is only natural for Protoss players, always a little contrarian, they just fully ignore it. You gotta love it. Imagine listening to the mapmaker. We're not doing that. We're most definitely not doing that. We're building our own wall. Alright, it's gonna be a Stargate opener yet again. So, you really want to pay attention to the first bunch of units that Protoss makes. Right? Because MaxPax did a great job defending. But then because the momentum was so heavily in favor of the Zerg, because Ragnarok was left to his own for a long time, yeah, it's just tough, man. It creates such a difficult setup for Protoss. I feel like that's one of the main difficulties for Protoss in general. Like, your first 5 minutes have to be so sharp. You have like 4 units in total. And you need to be able to harass, scout, and then also defend 3 bases with it at the same time. First 2 Adepts will stay alive for the time being. We actually have an influx of links here. There is a secondary entrance into the main base on this particular map. This map inspired by Talisman. One of my favorite maps from a Team Liquid map contest in the past. So what's kind of cool about this map is that you have a mineral-only path, or sorry, a worker-only path right over here, and then a couple of skinny mineral fields in the back. So you can already see those mined out on the Zork side of the map, but they're still up for MaxPax. So MaxPax takes this as his natural, right? Technically, the natural expansion for Ragnarok is this one right over here, but he decided to take the backdoor expansion first. He's now also taking the forward expansion on the back of this. And it just creates really interesting dynamics. I've always been a fan of this. I really do like it. It's something we've only seen on a handful of maps. But the games are always spicy. Double Spore Crawler? I think we're going to walk that one on over to the third base. That's got to be the plan. First two Adepts here are in a little bit of trouble. For some reason, we're not shading backwards. That's a mistake. Resonating Glaives now researching, as MaxPax is also starting up a third base. Oracle number 1 goes in. Yeah, I don't like that. One worker kill, taking a bunch of hull damage. Overshooting it a bit. Not really necessary. And indeed, the Spore Crawler that was in a natural expansion, the secondary one, is now marched on over towards the right side of the map. Good positioning on the Queens yet again. Ragnarok is going to scout something, right? So he sees that it's a Stargate into a Twilight Council. Now, what is it going to be? Stargate into Twilight Council? Okay, could be Zealot all-in with charge. Could be a Blink Stalker follow-up. Could be a Glaive to Depth follow-up. Could be a Dark Templar rush. Could be Archon drops. There's a lot of varieties. A lot of different flavors of Protoss. This is good, though. This is nice for Max. 4 additional workers. Apparently, the solution we've come up with is a quick Baneling Nest together with a lair. And I think it's not a bad choice. It's just the question, will Ragnarok actually have Banelings done in time? The Zergling Scout there will reveal indeed that the Adepts are already coming in. Resonating Glaives is just a straight attack speed improvement. This is a lot of Zerglings though. He does have a lot of units. Yeah, I don't really mind this all too much. 7 Banelings coming up. I think we just want to dance for a little bit. Stasis is going to be set off. Drones are mostly alive for now. Banelings! Banelings! Oh, yo, disaster from MaxPax. Some uncharacteristic mistakes here from Max. That was brilliantly managed by Ragnarok, leaving them just far enough out of the vision range that the Adept Shade didn't see. So when Adept Shades are moving forward, they have like, I think it's a radius of 2 around themselves. You do not have the full vision of the unit. Ragnarok right there left them out of reach, created a distraction, I would imagine, to the oracles or something, and then, I mean, shading into Banelings is an absolute disaster. Again, a flying start here for Ragnarok. And while Protoss is really resilient, it takes forever to actually, you know, get a Protoss player to GG out. Ragnarok can do whatever he pleases. He can do whatever he likes. MaxPax is not in a good spot here. That was really, really rough, man. He maybe thought that there were no Banelings, although he should have scouted it. Yeah, he never went to the back of the Zerg's main base. It's either going to be a Roachwarren or a Baneling Nest, or, and this is quite popular, I guess, at the moment, so in MaxPax's defense, maybe he assumed that that is what he played against. It's quite common for Zerg players to skip both the Roachwarren as well as the Baneling Nest, so they just go straight Hydras. If you go Hydras, or Zerglings into Hydras against Glaive to Depths, you're pretty much dead. So maybe MaxPax right there got a little bit complacent. But that was pretty much the worst case scenario, and now we're going to get a Council as well on this 4th Nexus. It feels like this right here, honestly, the Baneling connection kind of feels like it's the beginning of the end. Now, obviously it's not, right? Like, there's still a lot of comeback potential, but MaxPax is now at the mercy of the Zerg. There's a lot of things he can do, but he has to do everything right. SHIN has at least a little bit of room to make mistakes. This could be nice, though. Adepts move in, drones move out. Some of them are stuck. 4 workers, though, for 4 Adepts. I don't really like it very much. It's going to be an Archon Zealot follow-up here. MaxPax playing a very fast-paced game. He wants to bust open the back door, but it's not possible. Sometimes I listen to what I'm saying. And it makes sense, okay? Don't forget about the context. Context is important. Yeah, you need to mine these mineral fields out. They have 80 minerals in them each. It takes a while. Instead, I guess we're gonna try and go around the site. When the back door is unavailable, consider a backup plan. Busting at the front failed. Not good. No. MaxPax doesn't like it. Fourth Nexus, though, is yet again in trouble. Even though those little attacks for the Zerg, not successful at all. We are still in a... Oh, careful with those High Templar! Ah! No! Okay, some of them somehow managed to escape. I think that's only 2 of them dying. Yeah. Man, this is really rough for Max. When creep is connected to the tentacle rocks, they don't die, by the way, because they're considered Zergy structures. I think Ragnarok actually would like to lose them. But Max is in a world of trouble right now. Zerg is on the hunt. The Banelings have been so explosive. We go once more for the same solution, by the way, Fleet Beacon. But now we're doing it on 3 bases. Like, this is a 3-base Fleet Beacon. MaxPax is effectively broke. Like, yeah, he's got a ton of minerals. But gas is your bottleneck right now as a Protoss. He's, by the way, got way too many minerals. I was hyping MaxPax up so much at the very beginning of this cast, but I think this is actually some of the worst MaxPax performance that I have seen in months. Really quite... I mean, look, that sounds really mean. Am I very Dutch? Maybe. Maybe I'm being a little bit too direct, but seriously, like, the performance in this game is not quite what I expected MaxPax to play like. Especially when we've recently seen him go up against, for example, Clem. Getting Clem to rage quit is really quite impressive. There's a lot of games that he and Clem played, to be fair, but I guess there's a little bit of frustration there. But it's interesting to see that... Ooh. It's interesting to see that even though MaxPax can be incredibly sharp, the next game you look at may not be quite as clean. I think this is the biggest proof we have that MaxPax is in fact human. Or maybe his programming needs an update. Who knows? MaxPax AI needs a patch. Did not expect Banelings. Man, Ragnarok is ready to throw stuff at the problem or just stuff at the wall here. My god, is this aggressive? Oh, 22 probes die. I mean, this is really spectacular here for Ragnarok, but my god, I think it would be safer to just go up to like 80 drones and not really risk it with effectively a counter all-in of your own, but it does not matter. SHIN gets a 2nd point on the board. It's time to step up your game, MaxPax. He's not playing poorly. He's just making a bunch of uncharacteristic blunders. And it happens. Generally speaking, you can get away with a few mistakes, but not usually against queens when you have an oracle in the main, right? Not usually against banelings when you're going for a glaive adept push. You just fall behind, and while you can stay alive for like another 5 minutes, you're just so far behind. It's so tough. Or I guess for that first game, you can stay alive for another 15 minutes. Ragnarok, by the way, playing very aggressively. I do want to point that out, because the more common response from Zerg players would be to go like 4 bases, 80 workers, 8 gas geysers into lurkers, right? Like that would be something we see all the time. A hive tech focus on the back of it instead, because we have that very nice, sustainable late game for the Zerg. The mid game usually is where Zerg has a lot of variety, but it's also very risky. So for Ragnarok to get ahead and then go for the very risky approach is very fun to watch. But I do wonder, right? Like, is this going to be a thing later on in the series, potentially, or maybe even in this game, where he's going to get ahead again, but then he accidentally throws it away because he's just hyper-aggressive on the back of all of it. Either way, Oracle opener yet again for MaxPax. 3.5 minute third Nexus for MaxPax. No 2nd gateway yet. No 3rd gateway unit. Or 4th gateway unit, rather. Ah, he didn't go for a Stalker at all. We're just going triple adept straight up. Yeah, he's being a little bit You know, you're cutting a couple of corners here. You're being a little bit greedy here as Protoss. Now the second gateway will be up. Completing the wall. At Eternity's Edge, by the way, is the map where all of the Nova simps are enjoying their time in the main base. Nova is a permanent picture on the big screen. The boys are enjoying it. Such a silly map feature. But you know what? I kind of get it. Yeah. You know, makes sense, I guess. Like, if you were on this map, where would you be? If you were at Eternity's Edge, where would you hang out? Near the creepy trees? Over here at the shared gold base? And the meteor impact over here in the bottom left? The scary silhouette of Amon? I don't know, dude. Better sit in the cinema of the main base. Ooh, we're gonna try and zap this base to death. A little risky. That would be MaxPax's SoundCloud name. Look him up. A little risky. Everybody's favorite Danish rapper. I don't like it, man. Activating the pulsar beam there on that base, and then losing the... I mean, getting 3 drones for 2 adepts is not terrible. I think it's decent. But he did waste a lot of energy there with the pulsar beam. So one of those oracles is pretty much empty. Should have microed that. Like, he should have shuffled the other high HP oracle to the front. It normally does that. It's these little things, these little touches, that do make a pretty significant difference. Lucky here for MaxPax, he doesn't lose the oracle, but it's mostly because the other queens were not in the main base. Super quick 4th hatchery, by the way, for Ragnarok. Hydra ban, or Hydra den, rather, yet again. Some Zerglings for now. Ooh, he's double expending. Okay. So after a very solid couple of mid-game focus matches, it seems to me that Ragnarok wants to focus a little bit more on the late game. This is going to give a ton more wiggle room, though, to MaxPax now. Overseer gets cancelled. Blink is going to be done in about 10 seconds. As Max will be trying to work on this hatchery yet again. Little risky going in. Nibbling away at the HP of that hatch. Stasis wards are good. And it seems to me that Ragnarok has given up on it. Now keep in mind, he did double expend. So this can kind of lure MaxPax into like a false sense of security. 4th Nexus coming up as well, though, for Max. His is about halfway done. Gold base in the meantime, though, really needs to be spotted. There's triple oracle available. I would imagine that MaxPax is going to be heading on over in that direction momentarily. He needs to use his oracles for base defense for now, though. Stalkers are blinking down south. And I think MaxPax has realized right now that, wait a second, you gave up on that base a little too easily. I wonder if you move a Stalker over here. Now you can definitely see the mining. You could already see the mining there. You may have already noticed it. Well, right now he definitely does. He sees the transfer. And it's pretty obvious that the Zerg is in some trouble if you send the oracles in. The base is wide open. Wow, MaxPax giving SHIN the benefit of the doubt here. But this base... Ugh, every single one of those drones could have been dead already. Now there's Hydra's out together with Queens. Respecting your opponent. Big mistake. Big mistake. Zealots in the meantime, charging at a single larva. The only thing that is remaining out of that base previously. Actually kind of crazy because that just now gave the Zerg player like a 10 seconds... yeah, response time here, so those Zealots actually achieve nothing. MaxPax, I mean, a little risky with one of his well-known songs, Respect. Stalk in the night. You pulse my beam. Real heroes wear capes. That's, of course, a reference to the Dark Templar. Man, I'd buy an album. Yeah, I'm, you know, I'd be interested for sure. photoning these nerds. Okay, I'm done. Am I done? Nah, I'm not really done. Dude, this larva is crazy. Holy shit, dude. This the MVP of the Zerg right here. A second group of zealots get intercepted. That's nuts. He's just barely living on the creep because of this creep tumor. Man, the tankiest larva in the West. That's another song right there for a little risky. Tankiest larva in the West. No, actually, that's Ragnarok. Never mind. Tankiest larva in the East. Considering he's South Korean, I guess that's more appropriate. All right, now it's time for Ragnarok, though, to go in. This is a very disjointed fight. The photon cannons are buying a ton of time. It's a very Hydra-heavy army here, and with good micro, Max should be able to keep the majority of those Stalkers up, but he needs to respect the firepower that the Zerg army can provide. So many drones have died, though, because there's also a Zealot warping in the main base. Base in the bottom left also in trouble. Workers have all been evacuated out of that spot. Reinforcing Protoss troops are spawning. We should have killed that Cyber Core, because that would have prevented an additional Stalker warp in. And I think with those reinforcing units now popping out slowly but surely, MaxPax is going to be able to stabilize here. It's messy. It's bloody. But I think he's getting the job done. He did lose 19 probes during all of this, but what's really mattering here, well, the only thing that matters, is the amount of units we have in total. Hatchery in the bottom left falls, and this has now reduced Ragnarok to the Stone Age. He's just on 3 bases. MaxPax still has his 4th Nexus up. And he's going Colossi. I kind of love it. Colossi are really good against Hydras. They suck, though, against Roaches. Ragnarok is going to try and push the issue. Recall here onto the Stalkers that are out on the map, bringing them back home. Oracles are going to sacrifice themselves, it seems, but it does not matter. The first Colossus did not see the light of day, but MaxPax gets a point on the board. Game 4. Old Sun Temple. One of the 4-player maps. And this time around, the players have spawned horizontally. Zerglings here, being annoying. Look at this one zealot. He's like, get out of here. Get out of my lawn. Sadly for him, he does not have a ranged weapon. So, you know. To be fair, though, chasing after things with samurai swords for hands, still very effective. The Zerglings, though, don't really care. They're only going to get faster. All right, Stargate opener once more, as Ragnarok does get a really quick scout. And look at the minimap. He's checking out everything. We're looking around. This is one of the big advantages if you want to be sneaky. There's just so many bases to choose. There's just so many bases you can go ahead and take. I think this map is fine, by the way. Like, that's kind of the problem right now with these 4-player maps. There's just a few that I like better. And this map is fine. Like, it's good. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. But it doesn't have tunnels? Okay, maybe I'm overvaluing tunnels. This map would do really well in the map pool. Pretty excited, actually, to see what maps will ultimately be decided on. I feel like you can't really go wrong. Other than the map Rorschach. Still don't know how you pronounce that properly. Mostly because of the name. I think the map layout is great. But the name of it, come on. Gotta do better than that. Anyways. It's going to be a Stargate opener yet again. But we're not going Oracle immediately. It's going to be a Void Ray first. With Void Ray openers, you can obviously get rid of all scouting that the opponent can throw at you. But look at Otto here. Trying his absolute best to hide. Now, he decides to hide in the most obvious location. Don't know if that's smart. It's very likely, though, that he's going to die anyways. Yeah, there are so many OVs out on the map. I wonder, actually, if on a 4-player map, it's just better to go Void Ray first. Because the odds of you finding at least 2 Overlords goes pretty significantly up. I mean, you may get 4, right? Like, there's 2 more over here on the left side, too. MaxPax doesn't know where they are, but 4 Overlords for a single Void Ray build? I mean, that's pretty dang good. Zerglings going in. Where's that Oracle? Ah, it was busy harassing on the other side of the map. Time to activate the Pulsar Beam yet again. Looks like the Void Ray here ended up forcing a cancel on a Spore Crawler. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what it is. So, like I said, I feel like MaxPax really has some of the absolute cleanest Protoss gameplay out there. I see him execute those types of games all the time, but this series is kind of messy, right? Like, we see some sloppy mistakes. He's still playing good. Don't get me wrong. Like, his autopiloting skills are, like, absolute best in the class when it comes to high-level StarCraft. Like, it's ridiculous. But maybe it's like the time of day. Like, I wonder. I don't really know exactly at what time these games are played at. Obviously, we have Europe going up against Asia here, right? So there's a good chance that at least one of these two players is somewhat sleep-deprived. Now, you gotta always take that with a grain of salt. Because sometimes I've seen, like, at offline tournaments, I sometimes see people say, oh my god, they're making the players play at 7 p.m.? I can't believe they're making them play at 7 p.m. Dude, that is like early mornings, relatively speaking, for pro gamers. Like, let's just be honest, most of these guys did not choose the pro gaming career because they enjoy getting up at 6 a.m., right? Like, that's not really... that's generally not the lifestyle that goes hand in hand with professional gaming. Some of them do. Interestingly enough, from what I understand, Sarah was actually somebody that goes to bed really early and, you know, he's boring, doesn't really do all, you know, he likes golfing, but, you know, he's not a party boy, right? He's not really enjoying to travel that much. He just likes to sit at home and hang out and get up early, go to bed early, that sort of thing. But most of the guys out there, they're living the more degenerate lifestyle. But I do wonder, maybe MaxPax is just a little bit sleep-deprived here, or maybe just a little bit messy. Although, I will say that previous game was better than the first two. And this game so far does seem to be going quite well, too. Recall is going to be used right now on the Stalkers as he's recognizing that the rocks are being attacked here by Ragnarok. The Queens are going in too. Ragnarok is sending it. There's a lot of upgrades currently on the production tab for MaxPax. He's going to hit a really significant power spike. But SHIN is going to try and see if he can get this game over with before all of those upgrades are done. Ground weapons level 1 though will certainly finish. And the stasis wards are so good. Queens are going to try and put down some creep tumors. But they actually got blocked there by their own Zerglings. A little bit unfortunate. Still though, the amount of swarm available here is significant. Ragnarok is looking to kill at least this base. Remember that, oh, that Void Ray from earlier? Still trying its absolute best to put in the work as well. And honestly, that Void Ray may be carrying this game on its shoulders. Because if somehow, some way, the Danish Protoss here can stabilize, I think that Void Ray is giving him the real advantage. Nexus does fall, 15 probes do die, but Ragnarok still does not have a good work account of his own. Since he doesn't have a 4th hatchery now either because of the hero Void Ray, yeah, he's actually forcing the Zerg to be all in. And these are very microable Protoss units. MaxPax will defend, and he will actually stabilize. Despite losing 16 workers and the base, he will stabilize with a superior work account. Look at Void Ray, man. 8 kills. 8 kills! This guy. Gold League players and MaxPax love Void Rays, clearly. It is funny because oftentimes... Okay, he's gonna die. A very heroic death. Oftentimes that unit is considered a bit of a noob trap, but it absolutely smashed in this particular game. GG. And suddenly, the scoreboard is not looking so dramatic anymore. Game number 1 and 2 were very dominantly in favor of Ragnarok. Game 3 and 4, I mean, they ended with a win for MaxPax. I wouldn't call it necessarily very dominant, but he got the job done. And ultimately, that's the only thing that matters, is we now go into Game 5 on Sanctuary 3. A very pretty map, I will say. I think we all agree that purple is an underused color in map design. I'm just going to keep saying it until everybody agrees. That's the plan. By the way, are my shadows on the max? I feel like the shadows here on this map are a little weird. Graphics? Shadows. Yeah. Why are they squared off? Huh. Yeah, for some reason the shadows are kind of ugly. Why in the world are the shadows ugly? Weird. Maybe this is one of the things. Like, there will be still like an iterative stage for most of the maps, right? The ones that will get chosen as a ladder map will certainly still get a little update. Oop. The long arm over there of the Adept will save the probe. Good enough. All right, Oracle opener yet again. Triple hatchery opener yet again here for Rag. Players are always very sensitive to little doodads floating across the screen. So this is like one of those things, right? I think I like... I'm guessing they're supposed to be like blossoms, like cherry blossoms falling to the ground or something. I don't know. But I'm personally very sensitive when I play the game for these falling doodads out of the skies. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to get adjusted or maybe toned down a little bit. It's one of those things where if you pay attention to it, or when you start paying attention to it while you're playing the game, it's the only thing you see. It can just create a very significant distraction. Oracle goes in. Doesn't really achieve anything. Yeah, usually those little doodads that are falling down the screen are also ridiculously... Like, they're very much so reduced on the lower graphic settings. So if you play the lowest graphic settings, it can just be considered a very significant tactical advantage. And I don't want to play the game on lower graphics. I like looking at the pretty graphics. I think it's fine. Most pro gamers will play absolute lowest of the low or like a hybrid setup, but it is a thing to consider. +1 melee coming up right here for Rag. Very quick +1 melee. This is really good against a Blink Stalker follow-up, especially. It's a bit of rock, paper, scissors, though, for the Zerg, because you never know. And it is going to be Blink. Yeah, so this is that little bit of randomization where MaxPax throws rock, and, well, Ragnarok already went paper. Not that +1 melee is useless in other instances, but this is definitely the spot where it's best. This is a good shade-in, though, here for the Protoss. Well, a lot of lost mining time. 4 drones is nice. Oracle swoops into the side as well, gets an extra kill. Much sharper here. Max has not seen the evolution chamber, but he does spot the timing of the Baneling nest this time around. So this is a little bit different than what we had in that game where you went for Glaive to Depths and you ended up being busted without realizing it. So at least now this is going to allow MaxPax to mentally prepare for this sort of thing. Ragnarok making a massive amount of drones. Gotta be careful that you don't accidentally fall behind. He's yet again double expanding. Okay. It used to be common for a long time, actually, for Zerg players to max out 3 bases worth of workers. So 66 workers. And then you make 2 hatcheries. 1 at the 4th base, and then 1 inside of the main. This kind of reminds me of that, except that rather than building the macro hatchery in the main base, you just kind of build it on the alternative mining location. Makes a lot of sense. At least when the map layout serves for that. +1 melee is done, by the way, but he's still unable to really reach this. You don't really want to lose the base. Stasis ward gets triggered. A lot of stalkers available, though. And despite the fact that +1 melee is done, I think that Max is still going to be able to just get the kill on this base anyways. Cheeky move here. Important, though, for Max to realize that this was not the only 4th base. There is a backup 4th. That one is done right now. Still, we have a Hydroden on the back of this, and again, Banelings are available. +1 melee makes Zergling so much better. Yeah, instant mass cancel there for Max. Drone starts up. Another base. That Stalker is stuck. Not going to be happening, although it will be able to blink and join with the rest. And despite the +1 melee, MaxPax is doing a really good job keeping his army alive and running. New 4th Nexus attempted now at the bottom of the map. Photon Cannon is not going to happen. Pylon is likely going to fall as well, and maybe we'll even see some of the probes fall. MaxPax manually retargeting right there with the shield battery, though, just to buy more time for a warp in to become available. In the meantime, the Stalkers have found the new 4th base. Dude, MaxPax is so good at Stalker control. He makes the unit look so busted. It's actually insane. I wonder, though, if he's overextending now. He will have to get out. No, I think he's fine. Yeah, he didn't overextend. MaxPax is really good at Stalker Micro. It sounds like such an obvious skill as a Protoss, but he's only lost 4 of them so far in this game. So much value, and he goes back in for more. This honestly feels too greedy to me. He's inviting the Zerglings into another Stasis Ward. It's really the Stasis Wards, by the way, that are allowing those Stalkers to get so much value. The most logical answer for Zerg is indeed massling. Like, Ragnarok's defense here is to split units off and hope that he triggers the Stasis Wards, but you can't really cover all the terrain. So you kind of have to go and hope for the best a little bit too. Micro advantage there, very much so in favor of the Protoss. Zealot on the right side of the map does scout the base. Creep on the top, though, has been denied for such a long time. MaxPax is going to try and tighten the noose on that hatchery some more. Bailing speed is just moments away from finishing up. These Zealots are having a grand old time, though. They're now at 1-1 upgrades. Of course, nullifying the +1 attack here quite nicely off those Lings. And now, suddenly, MaxPax is starting to break through even some of the Stalkers here. So many units have sacrificed themselves to kill those Zealots. Double upgrades, dude. It's so powerful. And Max is getting 2 more upgrades on the back of this. Double Forge yet again. He's being the gateway man. Common style against Terran. Not so common against Zerg. But look at what is possible when you micro your units really, really well. Man, the Zealots are still going to town as well on the right side. Stalkers, though, have very high DPS. But not a lot of survivability. Yeah, when there's no Zerglings or strength in numbers, the Hydras can just be blinked on. And I think that base may very well end up falling here anyways in the end. +2 attack done right now for the Stalkers too. I feel like we're always on like the verge of overextending with Stalker play like this. It's so easy for things to go horribly wrong. So many red HP units. Hydras. Okay, getting some help here from the Lynx. And it looks to me that Ragnarok is going to be able to keep that base alive. Snipes one of the Oracles too. In the meantime, those Zealots go into town. What's really nice in this exchange for Protoss is that for the Protoss, you just warp in a round of Zealots and shift queue them on the minimap. But for Zerg, you actually have to micro against this type of thing. So for Protoss, you're not likely to be paying attention, meaning that you can focus all of your micro on just the Stalkers. And now with the Zealots joining in here as well on the left, he's going to be able to kill that base. Oh, I love the Colossus follow-up here. I mean, we're going Colossi, but it may very well go the same way as one of the previous games where the match is over before the Colossi are actually out. Those Zealots, man, they're going to town. I love the quick upgrades. +3 attacks already coming. How many hatcheries have died? 3 hatcheries have died, and I think like 4 got cancelled. MaxPax. He's like a Zerg ventriloquist right now. Yeah, making Ragnarok play and dance to his tune. GG. Alrighty, and that takes us to Verdant Temple. Match point here for MaxPax. MaxPax. Or MatchPax? Point packs? Okay, gotta work on that one. MatchPax. MatchPax? Okay. I got distracted by Rex leaving the game. Cut it out. Match point here for MaxPax, who's now won 3 games back to back to back. Can we add 1 more to back for that, or to that sentence? Series started off reasonably rocky. But now suddenly, well, we have a chance to get the job done. Ragnarok is playing well, by the way. But he is getting overwhelmed a little bit. And it's one of those setups where I feel like, again, if Protoss plays really well, especially with those Stalker-based openers, it kind of just leaves Zerg in the dust. It's really quite hard to say exactly what went wrong for Ragnarok in that previous game, right? Because he rock, paper, scissored into the correct upgrade. He went +1 melee against Blink Stalkers and then still ended up losing the base anyways. Like, you are very much so at the mercy of Protoss miscontrolling. It is relatively unexplored territory for StarCraft, though, in the sense that, like, you have to play it so cleanly as the Protoss player for things to look really broken. But then when Protoss does play near perfect, I'm not really sure what you can do here as Ragnarok to try and counter it. I feel like it's different the other way around, you know? Where if, like, the Zerg plays it perfectly, you can still fall behind against the Protoss that is playing it perfectly. And obviously, the same can be said as well for the late game. Like, if Zerg plays a near-perfect late game, it is very, very difficult for Protoss to beat. But with those kind of statements, it's always tough, right? Because how many people can actually micro Stalkers like that? How many people can actually control the Zerg late game army like it? There's only so many. Oracle trying its best. MaxPax is looking a little bit sharper. Either we got a firmware update, or maybe caffeine in the system, I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with caffeine, but many people will argue a firmware update instead. Zerglings and Overlords scouting out exactly what they're going up against. It's going to be more of the same, really. Small little variations here for Max. But broadly speaking, it is something a little bit, yeah, a little bit different every time, right? It's the same thing, roughly speaking, or broadly speaking, but he changes the amount of gateways up before he takes a third base, the amount of oracles, the order in which he gets the oracles. And that's another drone dying here, as it was just about ready for its big promotion. Queen's far away from the hatchery, man. I feel like whenever we see Zerg chasing off creep, it's almost a little bit desperate. Sneaky. Oh my god, really? That's so silly. You could see Ragnarok right there. I was like, can I do it? Can I do it? No, I think I can do it. Then MaxPax noticed. But not early enough. Double expansion yet again here for Rag, who's skipping out on the Evo chamber earlier, by the way. So no +1 melee, no quick +1 missile either. Instead, we're going effectively a similar strat as to what he went for in the first game. We're going to end up here with Roach Hydra, with Zerglings for support. Lovely position here. That'll be a Zergling meat grinder. Yep. 6 and 6 kills individually, not bad. Fourth Nexus is going to have to start up right over here in the middle. Verdant Temple, supposedly inspired by King Sejong Station. Mostly for this particular forward base. Double upgrades yet again, by the way, here for Max. Hydra's tried her absolute best. He went from 6 to 7 kills before ultimately dying. Just for the Gen Alpha fans out there. Oh. Even the Zealot doesn't realize it yet. But he just escaped it. Just barely. He escaped death. Sometimes death is just RNG. It happens. Alright. So, as the dust is settling now in this game, we're having ourselves a bit of a mid-game to maybe even like a late-game transition. Even though this is game 6 in a best of 7, we haven't really had a proper late game yet. These two players have been so aggressive. Oh, never mind. I thought maybe this was the chance to play late game, but nope, never mind. Nidus Worm on the back of this for Rag. He's gonna be sending the worm across. I have seen MaxPax get a little too tunnel visioned on Stalker Micro. So this is one of the things that humans struggle with, right? Like looking at multiple things at the same time. Maybe if we could spec in like chameleon eyeballs or something where we could individually control them, but that would be difficult to pull off. MaxPax does sometimes get blindsided by Nidus Worms in the main base when he is super focused on trying to keep his stalkers alive. More proof that he may not be an artificial intelligence. He seems to have as many eyeballs as the rest of us. Well, most of us anyways. Yep, so he's busy right now. Does he notice the red spark on the minimap? Like, it's right there within his vision. So far, no reaction in the main base. And that is going to allow the Zerg to tunnel straight in. Yeah, now we respond, but it's a little late. Targets the pylon down too. Somehow the Zealots finish. Oh, there's a backup pylon, that's why. But it doesn't really matter. So many Hydras available. And while everybody's got a plan, you may only have one until there's a Nidus Worm in your main base. And this is pure Hydra, pretty much. It deals so much damage. Sending a secondary worm as well down to the low ground. And suddenly, all of the Zealots are running in single file. The Stalkers are not quite having the concave that they're looking for. An absolute disaster here. Absolute disaster here for MaxPax. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 7 series takes place on a lockdown. One of my personal favorites. I'm gonna keep saying it, but I think this map is really nice. Okay, so what do we do now? I'm mostly wondering what Ragnarok is going to do, because I think we all know what MaxPax will be aiming for. Ragnarok seems to have a lot of variety in his playstyle. I say that. All the roads do seem to lead to some sort of Roach Hydra Ling-based mid-game aggression. But the MaxPax strategy seems a little bit more tried and true. It's a very high risk, high reward type of strategy, but if you micro it well enough, you can get very far. Just playing, well, flavors of the same build every time. I would imagine we're gonna go Oracles into Blink Stalker yet again. It just makes the most sense. Oracle, boom, 150. Yep, 150 gas required. This is nice, really good for Max. Getting a snipe on a creep tumor kill like that, especially the very first one, is a big deal. It slows everything down a ton. He's looking for a secondary one. Ragnarok decides to go up to the high ground and actually plays down his first creep tumor next to the other one. That's crazy. Never quite seen a Zerg play it that safe, but Ragnarok knows the stakes. Doesn't want to lose it now. Third Nexus at 3.5 minutes. That is again before we actually get a wall off completed. So whenever you see a Nexus going down at 3:30, it either means that the Protoss player put a pylon as part of the wall, something the Korean players really like to do, but MaxPax usually still plants the pylon in the first spot and then follows the wall off up a little bit later on. The thing is, right, like, yeah, Zerg could punish this, but Zerg would have to preemptively decide to make like 20 to 30 Zerglings before knowing whether or not it was going to be a super early and greedy third base. And obviously, if Protoss spots it, they can just not make the third base and add on a second gateway a little sooner instead and wall yourself in. So it's pretty safe, even though it's a calculated risk, I suppose. I was going to say it's pretty safe, even though it's risky, but it seems like the risk is worthwhile. As long as you do it every once in a while. Oh, supply block here as well for Rek. That's a big deal. This is not really a point in a series where you can start hitting supply blocks. This Nexus finishing up. It basically functions as a gigantic pylon here for MaxPax. Ooh, he's going charge first. Okay, no blink. Charge together with +1. especially the very best Protoss players, the ones with the absolute best micro in the world, are a big fan of this build. So we see Hero go for this strategy, like, maybe not 50% of the time, but he goes for it frequently enough. What's ironic too, or what's ironic when it comes to this strategy to me, is that this is a build that you can't really micro. So somebody in Diamond League can micro Zealots about as well as these two guys can. Now, obviously, that's not entirely true. But the skill ceiling for microing Stalkers is way, way higher than microing Zealots. +1 attack is nice, though, because it allows you to 2-shot Zerglings rather than 3-shot them. As long as the Zerglings do not have Carapace upgrades, and by the time the +1 attack and Zealots are out, Ragnarok is not going to have any Carapace upgrades. He's also gone for a Templar Archives here. So Templar Archives mostly just so he can add on a bunch of Archons, I'm sure. So the High Templar are being warped in right now. Where's the Archons? There we go. So they're going to be joining hands together with the Zealots. They're not going to be holding the Zealots' hands because, you know, they have swords for arms. Just not very comfortable. But this is one of those attacks that does just straight up have game-ending potential. Even though there's really not that much. We're going 10-gate. We're going for a 10-gate all-in. MaxPax going for one push for all the marbles. And I quite like saving this until the very end. Because while this is defendable for Zerg for sure, fatigue is a big deal, man. Like, these guys are going to be exhausted, right? Like, they're playing for a long time. There's also a real good chance that this is not the first and only series they're playing that day. So, just getting the job done. And actually getting the focus there for long enough is much easier said than done. MaxPax not actually committing that hard to this attack just yet. We had like 20 drones there on the production tab all at once. Ragnarok really going heavily into the workers. Queen 1 dies. Queen number 2 also falls. Infestation pit. Second robo facility. Man, we're going 10 gates, second robo, and storm. All on 3 bases. I don't even think MaxPax can support all of this production. It's too much. I wonder if he meant to only make 8 gateways and then accidentally added on another one. Yeah, he's even making a photon cannon, so it's pretty indicative of him wanting to make a switch on over to, say, for example... Brenda, no, you can't go there. To a 4th Nexus. Queen number 3, by the way, that just died. Whew, look at that. Now, Ragnarok did make a silly number of workers during all of that. I thought that 20 drones all at once was a little much, but evidently he got away with it. Could be a bit of a misread here for MaxPax too, because while he's microing all of this really well, he is preparing as if we're going to see an all-in here from the Zerg momentarily. He's got so much production and just so many units out. But if we don't believe that we're going to be attacked anytime soon, we really do need a 4th base soon here for the Protoss. Because if we don't, we're going to fall behind really quickly against the 80 worker economy. Look at the supply count already. SHIN is skyrocketing ahead. Now the 4th Nexus gets planted. Risky business. I'm surprised we have 10 gateways. The 10 gateways really are throwing me off. Do you think it's possible for professional gamers to make mistakes? Are professional gamers human? Follow-up question. Is MaxPax human? Difficult call to make, but we have only used, all the gateways like twice. Obviously, it still is going to be useful the longer that the game goes on. Stasis Ward is set off, though, as Ragnarok is ready to start punishing the opponent. This Nexus is likely going to get sniped eventually, although I say that. Big Zealot warping inside of the main base. MaxPax not using it to try and keep his expansions alive. Looks like he doesn't need it, though. Only 2 drones ended up dying here. Ragnarok getting a really good engagement. Big counterattack. MaxPax actually carving a path through the middle of the map. That means that these units, I mean, they wanted to go into the main base. It looks like they're being sent instead to surround these troops. MaxPax going for the biggest split of all splits, though, as he does commit right now. Ragnarok, that is. He wants to snipe as many of those expensive Protoss units as possible. My god. Stasis Wards! Oi, 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 all stasis wards set off right at the same time. In the meantime, the secondary army has arrived over at the third hatchery of SHIN. We have a drop in the main base, but all of the balloons are empty. My god. MaxPax is making this game incredibly complex, but the storms, my lord, are dealing so much damage. Jeez, that's so much value here out of a reasonably small Protoss army. And now we're gonna get the zealots on top of the drones as well. It's an absolute disaster for SHIN. This game was going really quite well for Ragnarok up until about, I want to say 90 seconds ago. Then, like a house of cards, it all came plummeting down. Curious final build here for MaxPax. I don't think it was a mistake. I think he decided to play this slowly and then eventually overwhelmed when he saw an opportunity. And man, did he not hesitate. GG.